Reborn on the day of the imperial consort selection, this time I did not choose Lin Jingqing. In my previous life, after our marriage, his childhood sweetheart suddenly passed away. Lin Jingqing, seething with suppressed vengeance, poisoned me and usurped my throne. I bypassed him and approached the young general. "Do you have a childhood sweetheart?" He shook his head, and I felt relieved. Yet on the second day after our wedding, his widowed sister-in-law died suddenly. The young general forced a coup. I leapt from the city wall. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of the prince consort selection. There were 3 candidates in total. In the imperial garden, 3 tall figures stood from left to right. They were the top scholar Lin Jingqing, the young general Ning Changsa, and the son of the chancellor, Cui Jing. I strode directly before Cui Jing. My purpose clear, my steps urgent, I blurted out, "Have you a childhood sweetheart who grew up alongside you?" All present froze. Cui Jing glanced instinctively to the side, then bowed his hands, "Your Highness, as a youth, this servant preferred solitude and had no playmates." "What about that white moonlight, someone like an older sister or sister-in-law who looked after you?" Cui Jing glanced beside him again, "Your servant is the only son in the family." "Very well." I finally exhaled in relief, placing the token jade pendant into his hand myself. "It's you. The wedding is next month." Just as we exited the palace gates, the carriage abruptly halted. A guard reported, "Princess, the top scholar, Lord Lin, is blocking our path ahead." I lifted the curtain. By the roadside, Lin Jingqing raised his hand in a bow and declared in a clear voice, "My carriage has broken down. I dare to request the princess grant me a ride." In my previous life, I abandoned Lin Jingqing and chose Ning Changsa. On the way back to the mansion, he seemed to have blocked us then too. But at that time, resentment burned fiercely within me, a searing ache in my chest and abdomen. It was the phantom pain lingering from the poison. Meeting Lin Jingqing was out of the question, even hearing his voice was unbearable. I ordered the attendants to drive straight over him. Returning home, still seething, I had poison slipped into his food. Lin Jingqing lay ill for a month. Just as he recovered, the wedding day arrived. Though a princess, I had already left the palace and established my own residence. Naturally, the wedding took place at the princess's mansion. Lin Jingqing wore dark crimson robes, which only accentuated his pallor. During the congratulatory toasts, he coughed up blood. Finding it inauspicious, I hastily had him escorted away. This piqued my curiosity. I wanted to hear what he might say, so I beckoned him closer. Lin Jingqing swept his robe aside and sat down, his posture impeccable, yet his tone was oddly off. "Your Highness, I have a question." "Speak. What exactly does the princess mean?" Lin Jingqing braced himself against the cushion, leaning oppressively close. "If you won't choose me, why summon me at all? And now that I'm here, why not select me?" As he spoke, he drew a sachet from his robe and held it before me, murmuring softly, "Do you recall the words spoken when the princess bestowed this upon me?" My gaze froze. The sachet swayed before my eyes. The fabric was exquisite, the embroidery meticulous, with a tiny moon character stitched at the bottom. It was my given name. I had placed it in Lin Jingqing's palm myself, telling him he was the only one I could ever marry. I truly loved Lin Jingqing. When we first met, he was the spirited new top scholar. Everyone praised his talent, and I wanted to test him. At the palace banquet, I posed a poetry challenge. Lin Jingqing met my gaze boldly, not reaching for a brush but drawing his sword instead. A sword dance unfolded, petals scattering like snow across the sky. He bowed with clasped hands, uttering only, "Snow is not snow, moon is not moon." Later, whenever I challenged him, he would skillfully meet my challenge and then turn to provoke me. Gradually, feelings blossomed between us. Before the selection of the prince consort, he came to see me specifically. "Princess, do you want me to go? Or rather, are you willing to let me go?" Lin Jingqing stared straight at me, his gaze almost tangible. After the sachets were given, it burned like fire, scorching and licking. Just as now, he spoke, coaxing, "Princess, are you?" I jolted, raising my hand, smack. The sachet rolled to the floor. Lin Jingqing turned his head, a crimson handprint blooming on his cheek. You. Minister Lin, if you wish to speak, speak. Why stand so close? I lowered my head to adjust my sleeves, using the motion to hide the resistance and terror in my eyes. In my first life, he used this very sachet, the one I gave him with my own hands, to poison me. A slow-acting poison, working over years. After our marriage, Lin Jingqing personally dressed me and fastened it for me every single day. I had thought it was the affection of a loving couple, the deep bond of husband and wife. Little did I know it was a veiled revenge, a hatred beyond measure. After forcing the palace to rebel, he shredded the pouch before my eyes, meticulously explaining the poison within. Lin Jingqing pinned me to the bed, demanding why I had killed his childhood sweetheart. Li Jinyue. You're so cold-hearted and ruthless, treating everyone like ants to toy with. Besides power, what else do you truly care about? Isn't power important? If he hadn't usurped my throne, how could Lin Jingqing have dared to humiliate me? I swallowed my breath bitterly. I bitterly regretted my blindness back then. How dare he bring it before me? I flung it away without mercy, and slapping him across the face was but a reflex. Lin Jingqing snapped back to his senses and whipped his head around. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief, his face a mask of humiliation. I spoke before he could. Whom this princess chooses as her consort is my own prerogative. A mere subject has no right to meddle. Minister Lin would do well to mind his own affairs. Lin Jingqing looked puzzled at first, then murmured as if recalling something, "How did the princess know?" "If you don't want others to know, don't do it yourself," I replied calmly. Lin Jingqing suddenly grew still. Ying and I grew up together, but it's not what you imagine. If it troubles you, princess, you may ask me directly. Marriage is a lifelong commitment. How could one choose a husband on a whim? Who chose on a whim? I looked utterly bewildered. Cui Jing had no childhood sweetheart, no eternal love. He wouldn't act like Lin Jingqing or Ning Changsa, plotting revenge, seizing power, or taking lives. I didn't even know those women, yet no matter how I explained, they refused to believe me. Suddenly exhausted, I had no desire to argue with Lin Jingqing any longer. The carriage rolled to the gates of the Lin residence. Before stepping down, Lin Jingqing picked up the sachets and tucked them back into his robe. He turned to bow, his waist bending respectfully, yet his gaze remained fixed on me. "Princess," he said meaningfully, "we shall have ample time in the future." Future my ass. The first thing I did upon returning was order someone to drug Lin Jingqing. This time I increased the dose, ensuring he'd be bedridden for a full month. After some thought, I submitted another petition. I requested His Majesty's permission to bring Cui Jing to the princess's residence first. With less than a month left until the wedding, I needed to prevent him from falling for another woman and complicating matters. Better to keep him under my watchful eye for peace of mind. The emperor has few heirs, I am his only daughter. He promised my mother that after my marriage, he could formally enter the court to discuss state affairs. Therefore, this marriage must proceed smoothly. Soon, the palace responded. Father not only agreed but sent men to escort Cui Jing here personally. An imperial decree accompanied him. The chancellor's son is frail. The princess must exercise patience and restraint. Me? How dare they? Do I look like someone who can't control herself? My face flushed crimson with anger. Behind me, a gentle, clear voice spoke. "Princess, please do not be upset. His Majesty's concern is well-intentioned." Cui Jing stood in white robes, a true gentleman in this turbulent age. He turned to the eunuch and said, "Please convey my thanks to the Emperor for his concern, though it is truly unnecessary. To be chosen by your Highness as consort is already a blessing beyond measure. Whatever may come, I shall always place your Highness first. Besides, your Highness is well-read, gracious, wise, and composed, surely incapable of such discourtesy." I nodded along beside him. My heart felt so soothed. What a sensible, considerate son-in-law and daughter-in-law. He soothed my concerns while also stepping in to mediate the tension between my father and me. Such dignified bearing befitting a principal consort, such exemplary conduct of a husband. My past 2 lives truly blinded me, though Cui Jing bears some blame too. Why didn't he know to stand by my side? Instead, he let those two worthless scoundrels waste his time. I assigned Shui Jing the finest courtyard and personally escorted him there. As he bowed to take his place, I caught him by the arm. His fingertips were cold against my hand, making me flinch. "Forgive me, princess," Shui Jing hurriedly said. "This servant was rash." "It matters not." I turned my hand to grasp his. Shui Jing had grown thinner, his hands now distinctly knotted with prominent bones. His skin was pale and thin, with blue veins pulsing beneath. His hands were large too, it took both mine to barely encircle one of his. "It's so cold. Let me warm it for you. I'm sorry you must make do in this courtyard for a month. After the wedding, you may move into my chambers." Shui Jing's lashes fluttered as he spoke, trembling slightly. "It's not hardship, princess." He hesitated, as if searching for words. I waited patiently, but when the attendant signaled with a glance, I instantly withdrew my hand. Shui Jing remained with his arm outstretched, lifting his gaze in confusion. "Any matters can wait until I return, Yu Ling." A shadow materialized like a ghost. Shui Jing startled. I reassured him, "Don't be afraid. This is my personal guard. She'll look after you. If you need anything, just tell her." With that, I turned and walked away decisively. The assassin's body, quietly disposed of by the shadow guard, was taken away along with me. "Have you identified them?" "Who sent them?" My subordinate replied, "The first prince." I sneered coldly, "He sure has quick hands." Li Jue, my elder brother by adoption. In his early years, father was wholly consumed by state affairs, leaving the harem empty. Ministers petitioned daily, and to appease them, he brought home a male infant to raise. That was Li Jue. Later, he met my mother and showered her with exclusive devotion. When I was born, I tormented my mother for a full day and night. From that moment, he could never bear to see her suffer again. Thus, he raised me as the heir apparent. Once I married, I would be formally proclaimed crown prince. In my previous 2 lives, Li Jue had acted, but never with such ruthless haste. Shui Jing had barely entered the estate before he sent assassins. I pondered for a breath, then ordered the body not to be disposed of. Instead, pack it into a crate and send it back to Li Jue. Tell that elder brother of mine, such a meager wedding gift won't suffice. He'll have to bleed a bit more. Days passed in a whirlwind. The advantage of rebirth is avoiding calamity. Whether natural disasters or man-made troubles, I could prepare in advance. Father held me in high esteem, bestowing gifts before my departure. Among them was a newly tribute 7-stringed guqin, specifically designated for Shui Jing. Who doesn't know Shui Jing's unmatched skill on the zither? Take it back and have him play for you. Thank you, father. Good thing he mentioned it, I'd nearly forgotten. On the way, I recalled Shui Jing's poor health, he seemed to be constantly taking tonics. After some thought, I decided to personally visit the herbalist to get him some medicine. What ailment he suffered from, or the exact formula, none of that mattered. The thought mattered most. After all, I could always swap it out when he drank it. With that mindset, I selected several common mildly warming tonics and went to buy him some candied fruits. The city's most popular pastry shop was bustling with customers. The moment I stepped inside, I spotted a familiar figure. Ning Changce. The imposing young general, now stripped of his military garb, wore narrow-sleeved robes that did nothing to diminish his heroic bearing. But none of that mattered most to me. My gaze drifted downward, fixating on the food box in his hands. The shop assistant had filled it with dried fruits, green plums, hawthorn berries, sour plums. All favorites for women suffering morning sickness. As far as I knew, the only women in his household besides his mother were his beloved sister-in-law. No way! But Ning Changce's brother had been dead for ages. Just as shock washed over me, Ning Changce turned around. My instinct was to run. But I snapped back to reality. Why should I run? Shouldn't the Ning family be the ones feeling guilty? This was blackmail material. I forced my foot back down, arched my eyebrows, and greeted him. What a coincidence. Ning Changce stiffened. Your Highness. What brings you here? Naturally, to shop. I signaled the shop assistant, pack the sweetest candied fruits and pastries, remember, the sweetest. Emphasizing each syllable deliberately, Ning Chansa stiffened uncomfortably. Princess, he murmured, may I speak with you privately? Why? Ning Chansa pressed his lips together, his eyes pleading. Unconsciously, I recalled my past life. We had paid homage to heaven and earth, drunk the wedding wine, exchanged vows, and entered the bridal chamber. Amidst the flickering crimson wedding candles, he knelt stiffly within the canopy, his head turned away from me. I brushed his cheek with the sleeve of my nightgown. Ning Chansa's body tensed abruptly as he forced out, Princess, this servant does not. Uncertain, or afraid. Back then, he'd been the same, pressing his thick lower lip tightly together. So kissable, yet treated with such a lack of charm. My hand moved of its own accord, about to touch him, when he suddenly grabbed it. My apologies. Ning Chansa yanked me along at a brisk pace, turning into a deserted alley. I jerked free, just as I was about to slap him, but Ning Chansa beat me to it. He knelt on one knee. Your servant has been disrespectful. Please punish me, princess. You just dodged my punishment. I rubbed my wrist expressionlessly, silent. Ning Chansa couldn't hold back. Princess, hear my explanation. This isn't what you think. Oh. I asked slowly. What do you think I think? Why don't you tell me, General Ning? Ning Chansa fell silent. Given a chance and couldn't seize it. I sighed. In my previous life, after Ning Chansa led his troops in rebellion and succeeded, his first act was to imprison me within the bedchamber. He hadn't even wiped the blood from his body. The cold, metallic stench of iron invaded my nostrils, making me retch uncontrollably. Ning Chansa froze for a moment, then lunged forward, gripping my nape and forcing me closer. Li Jinyue, smell it well. Remember this scent, the scent of death. I thought I understood you well enough, that I could tolerate you. But you should never, ever have laid a hand on her. If I was somewhat ignorant back then, I understand everything now. I thought Ning Chansa was merely pining for her, but it turns out they'd been secretly involved all along, they even had a child. If that was the case, why didn't you make things clear sooner? Why bother selecting a prince consort at all? And you told me, Your Majesty, I come not to obey your commands, but to follow my heart's desire. You're all liars. Rage surged within me, and I refused to wait for his defense. General Ning, let me give you this advice. Some things cannot be hidden forever, and once done, cannot be undone. Take care of yourself. With that, I turned and left. Ning Chansa suddenly lunged forward, materializing before me. Caught off guard, I stumbled straight into his embrace. His large hands gripped my waist, and through the fabric of my sash-clad robe, his heat still made me tremble. Ning Chansa's voice, strained with suppressed emotion, echoed above my head. Do you regret the choice you made, princess? It's none of your concern. Those words, he'd asked me the same in my past life. Do you regret choosing me as your consort? My answer was no. At least back then, I truly delighted in choosing him. What a pity. After careful consideration, I decided to give Ning Chansa a taste of his own medicine. It suddenly dawned on me, he not only deceived me but also betrayed his true love. Having a child but refusing to marry her? Scumbag. Marrying me yet distrusting me? Scumbag. Deserves a heaping bowl of castor beans. I returned to the mansion laden with bags and parcels. When I saw Cui Jing, his smile froze mid-rise. What's wrong? I tilted my head in confusion. Cui Jing's gaze darkened as he raised his hand to my cheek. You've got something here. His finger pointed to my lip, and I suddenly realized. In the carriage, I'd eaten half the pastries I'd bought for him. Feeling a bit guilty, I hurriedly pulled out the rest, along with the zither His Majesty had bestowed upon me. Cui Jing was skilled at playing the zither and loved it dearly. Upon seeing it, he was genuinely delighted. The elegant young gentleman, smiling gently, was utterly captivating. Leaning my chin on my hand as I listened to him play, a profound sense of contentment suddenly washed over me. No wonder the world speaks of settling down. To have such a handsome husband at home, to return each day after my duties and simply admire him, how utterly delightful. But as a princess of the realm, a potential heir, my schedule is relentlessly busy. Before the peace had even ended, a servant arrived with news. I bid him a reluctant farewell, offering final instructions before departing. If you need anything, speak with Yu Ling. Should you miss home, have her send word for you. Confining you to the mansion was never my wish, only concern for your safety, fearing my protection might prove inadequate. I hope you understand. My duties are demanding, I cannot accompany you daily. Should anything arise, have Yu Ling relay it to me. Also, that melody was beautiful, I truly enjoyed it. Cui Jing stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing as words failed him. In the end, he merely nodded, yes, I'll wait for the princess's return. Lin Jingqing had been dreaming frequently lately. Perhaps due to the medication, he drifted in and out of sleep, always seeing certain scenes. Images of himself, intimate and tender with a woman. Yet no matter how hard he strained, he could never make out her face. Like flowers in mist, reflections in water. In his dreams, Lin Jingqing and that woman shared a harmonious life, their hearts in perfect accord. He would dress her with his own hands, his arms encircling her slender waist, deliberately teasing her until she sought refuge in his embrace, laughing as she begged for mercy. He would also trace her eyebrows and pin flowers in her hair. He would tie a delicate, fragrant pouch around her waist, cherishing and handling it with utmost care. At such moments, he would lift his head to kiss the curve of her lips. Then, abruptly, he would wake. Every night was the same. Lin Jingqing was distraught, haggard, and dazed. Until the day of the princess's grand wedding, when everyone rushed to offer congratulations. He found himself inexplicably dressed in dark red. Without reason, he simply felt he should wear red today. Even as he exchanged pleasantries with court colleagues, their eyes fixed on him with strange looks. Lin Jingqing drifted in a haze until he heard the eunuch's loud proclamation, "The princess has arrived." He looked up, and a crimson silhouette filled his vision. Adorned in a phoenix crown and bridal robes, she was a vision of unparalleled beauty. Like a peony in full bloom, she dazzled the eye. When Lin Jingqing shifted his gaze to the princess's face, he froze. The figure of the woman from his dream gradually sharpened. The mist cleared, ripples dispersed. Her face, vivid and radiant, was identical to the one before him. It was none other than Princess Li Jinyue. A eunuch beside her began to chant, "First bow to heaven and earth." Lin Jingqing snapped back to reality, instinctively rushing forward. Wait! He wasn't the only one to cry out. He turned, stunned, to see Ning Changsa equally bewildered, blurting out, "Wait, don't bow, I knew why my eyelid kept twitching today." Turns out it was double bad luck. Someone. I spoke up, "The two gentlemen have drunk too much and are a bit confused. Please escort them downstairs to rest." The crowd instinctively parted, but they refused to cooperate. "No. I won't go. This isn't how it should be. No, it's clearly me." Lin Jingqing shook his head, his face pale, muttering incoherently. His crimson robes carried no joy, only a chilling ghostly aura. I recall how joyful we were when we wore these wedding garments together. Now, seeing them fills me with nothing but disgust. On the other side, Ning Changsa wore equally elaborate, wide-sleeved robes, a rare display of grandeur. Yet he too murmured, utterly lost, "It shouldn't be him standing there. It should be me." He suddenly groaned, pressing his forehead as if in pain. I stood at the head of the table, watching coldly. They kept repeating, "This isn't right. It shouldn't be like this." Then what should it be like? Lin Jingqing and Ning Changsa both turned to look at me, expecting me to ask. I nearly lost my temper. Whether they'd regained their memories or were vaguely tormented by something, causing this scene at my wedding was truly giving them too much credit. "Yu Ling, lend a hand." "Yes." A ghostly figure appeared at the command, instantly alerting Ning Changsa. After 2 moves, he finally reacted, standing at attention. The commotion only deepened everyone's silence. Only then did the two of them snap out of their daze. "Princess, forgive me. Your servant merely." I waved my hand, unwilling to hear more. I motioned for Cui Jing beside me to continue the ceremony. Only when I turned did I notice he seemed lost in thought, his gaze distant, lost in some unknown reverie. Prince consort? I called softly to snap him back. Cui Jing startled, pulling his gaze back. Your servant was discourteous. It's just. The latter half of his sentence trailed off in hesitation. Seeing he was still shaken, my heart softened. I took his hand and reassured him, fear not. Once I've chosen you, my decision stands. Cui Jing nodded blankly. A spring night's moment is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. But after drinking and hearing congratulations, not even 10,000 pieces could stop my desire to sleep. Princess. Cui Jing's hand brushed my collar, scratching lightly twice. Though my heart fluttered with desire, I held him back. You've worked hard today. No need to force it. Didn't you say you were frail? What if you lose strength midway? Embarrassment is one thing, but I don't want to be dragged into this mess. Cui Jing's expression shifted upon hearing this. Rarely lowering his brows, he said gravely, this servant is not tired. This servant can do it. Now he's being stubborn. Fine, fine. Whatever you say. Seriously. I lifted my hand to remove his hairpin, letting his cool, dark hair cascade down. While Cui Jing was startled, I wrapped my arms around his waist and pulled him close. We climbed onto the bed, covered ourselves with the quilt, and nestled into a comfortable position in his embrace. I closed my eyes, pouting. But you is very tired. Can we do it next time? After a moment, a hand rested on my waist, gently soothing me. All right, I'll listen to the princess. Ah, you. My prince consort is the best. The next morning, after helping Cui Jing with his ablutions and breakfast, I hurriedly left. My subordinates, who had been waiting, reported on all matters. Keep monitoring the Ning family and the Lin family. Report again tomorrow. Though I hadn't married either of them in this lifetime, there was no guarantee history wouldn't repeat itself. So that childhood sweetheart and widowed sister-in-law must still be watched. Only after 7 days passed without incident did I breathe a sigh of relief. I threw myself wholeheartedly into court affairs. After the investiture, I was itching to get started, eager to prove myself. I wanted to give everyone tasks, unable to bear seeing them idle. How could one enjoy leisure at home while this vast and splendid land awaited development? Take Cui Jing, for instance. I'd let him roam free, doing whatever he pleased, yet he never stirred. When I selected him for the prince consort selection, it was partly to fill the quota, but also out of curiosity. This son of the chancellor was renowned for his talents and learning, yet held no official post. He spent his days idly, yet wasn't the kind of idle rich who caused trouble. I was itching to poke him and see what he'd do. I frowned, studying him. Cui Jing let me look until he finally conceded. Resignedly, he bowed, I'll follow IU's arrangements. Since you put it that way, I won't stand on ceremony. My mind raced through options. There's a vacancy in the Ministry of Revenue, you'll fill it. It's perfect timing since I've been trying to find opportunities to send Lin Jingqing and Ning Changsa on assignments. I also gave Li Shuo a nudge. My eldest brother, all ambition, no substance. Can't find a major scandal to take him down, but his constant meddling is unbearable. Take the recent wedding gifts, for instance. Everyone sent matching pairs, but he had to be different. A portrait of a lady's back, supposedly painted by his own hand. It was indeed beautiful, but there was only one figure, how inauspicious. Recalling how he'd sent assassins after Cui Jing, my irritation only grew. I waved it away and stashed it at the bottom of a chest. Everything unfolded methodically according to plan. Yet power struggles inevitably demand blood and sacrifice. I've lost many men along the way. Finally, everything was in place, awaiting my ascension. So why has it come to this? I stared at the dagger pressed against my throat. The hands gripping it were so tense the veins bulged across the knuckles, threatening to burst through the skin. Cui Jing. Cui Jing. Surprised, are you? Or should I say, Your Majesty? Cui Jing's gaze was heavy, his tone laced with faint derision. I fell silent. I pondered. Where exactly had it all gone wrong? On the eve of the succession, the palace hall was brightly lit. Ornate robes and crowns hung in place. I had intended to ask Cui Jing to help me try them on, but this was the result. Cui Jing, displeased with my distraction, thrust his hand forward threateningly. The dagger's edge pierced my eyes. I blinked and heard him ask, "Do you recognize it?" "Me, I don't." Cui Jing paused, his anger surging for a moment before he forced it down. A princess forgets many things. Naturally, Yu Ling's personal dagger wouldn't catch my eye. I instinctively wanted to protest. As killing tools for secret guards, weapons are consumables. If each were marked, how would that differ from openly claiming responsibility? Thus, all blades and spears used by my household's guards bear no distinguishing features. The point is for them to be indistinguishable. But how did Yu Ling's weapon end up in Cui Jing's hands? Wait a minute. No way. Cui Jing met my stunned gaze and nodded. "Princess, do you recall the flood disaster in Jiangzhou?" So it was. That time, I volunteered to lead the relief efforts. Along the way, I dug up old grievances, uncovered numerous long-standing disputes, and executed several corrupt officials to make an example. There were already many voices opposing my status as a woman and heir apparent. After this incident, impeachment memorials poured in like snowflakes. The remnants of the faction, harboring resentment, set an ambush on my return journey to the capital. But I suspect Li Zhuo was behind it all. I intended to turn their scheme against them. Unexpectedly, Cui Jing happened to be returning to the capital after completing his official duties. Our paths crossed. Chaos erupted during the assassination attempt. Yu Ling couldn't hold them off and died. But... I took a deep breath, yet my chest still felt constricted. I didn't want to respond. It wasn't that I didn't know how to answer, but rather, Cui Jing is sick. Who is he putting on this act of deep, resentful devotion for? Yu Ling clearly died protecting him. If he hadn't refused to hide properly and insisted on charging out to cause trouble, how could Yu Ling have been overwhelmed while protecting me, forced to grit his teeth and shield me with his body? The arrow was poisoned. By the time we realized, it was too late. How dare he use this to question me? Cui Jing's tone grew colder with each word, his barbs piercing like ice shards. The princess returns triumphant, winning the people's hearts. Yet they know not how utterly cold-hearted you are, Li Zhenyue. You show no pity even for your long-serving shadow guard. If you ascend the throne, will you not betray all under heaven? What does pity even mean? I countered Cui Jing. Is it weeping for her, collapsing in despair? Or avenging her, ensuring such a tragedy never repeats? Yu Ling was my personal guard, her duty was to protect me. I punished the murderer to eliminate future threats, advancing my cause. Both she and I have nothing to reproach ourselves for. After a pause, I looked deep into Cui Jing's eyes. What business is it of yours? Outside the hall, flames blazed. The clamor of running, crying, and shouting filled the air. Someone shouted, "Restore the rightful line." Arrows and blades whistled through the wind. I suddenly smiled. Li Zhuo? Cui Jing stroked the hilt of his dagger and said, "You has always been wise." Don't call me that. It grates on me. I snorted coldly. I felt utterly foolish. I had intended to spare Li Zhuo's life, thinking I might need him later. If I didn't kill him, I wouldn't kill him. Yet here I was, slapped in the face. Perhaps, in my previous 2 lives, behind Lin Jingqing and Ning Changsa, Li Zhuo had also been stirring the pot. Something flashed through my mind, almost within grasp, when suddenly a chill touched my neck. "Look at me!" Cui Jing's furious voice exploded beside my ear. It was the first time he'd ever seen such raw emotion from him. The dagger pressed against his neck, drawing a thin trail of blood. Cui Jing gritted his teeth. "Li Zhenyue, you always do this. Always. Does nothing and no one matter to you? Whether it's Lin Jingqing, Ning Changsa, Yu Ling, or me, all of us combined, we're no heavier than a wisp of smoke to you, aren't we?" His expression darkened abruptly, a twisted smile curling his lips. Yet his voice grew strangely soft. "Princess, do you know what matters most to a ruler? Watching his deranged state, I replied, "What? Benevolence. To love the world, to love the people, to love him, and to love." I couldn't bear to listen further and cut him off, expressionless. Then, under Cui Jing's stunned and shocked gaze, I extended my neck and turned it. Blood splattered. One more time. I refused to believe it. Once again, I stood in the imperial garden. I didn't step forward, instead, I turned and left. "Princess? Princess, please wait," the attendant eunuch shouted repeatedly as he ran after me. "What's wrong?" "His Majesty awaits your selection and response." Selection? Just seeing these 3 dogs makes me furious. How can I choose? I strode forward, tossing out, "None of them." The next moment, the surroundings blurred. My feet halted abruptly. I blinked hard, and everything returned to normal. The eunuch spoke up at the perfect moment. "Princess, the 3 candidates for Prince Consort have arrived. They're over there." I whipped my head around. Something was wrong. I had clearly just left the imperial garden. Why was I back here? My heart pounded wildly, cold sweat breaking out on my back. I pinched the palm of my hand, forcing myself to sound as natural as possible. "I choose none of them." Then I turned and walked away. This time, my steps were quick yet steady, and then, "Princess, the 3 candidates for Prince Consort have arrived. They're all over there." The eunuch pointed thoughtfully. I closed my eyes. Undeterred, I tried twice more. No matter what, as long as I didn't choose, I would always return here. "Fine. Very well. Go send word. I wish to see father." The eunuch acknowledged the order, then cautiously probed, "And the princes?" I let out a cold laugh. "Take them all. Since I must choose. Then I'll take them all. Along with their beloved women, carry them all into my palace. This princess demands 3 wives and 4 husbands. In the imperial study." Father Emperor dropped the memorial he held, turning with disbelief. "Repeat that?" "I want them all." "Absurd." Father scolded, "Choosing several consorts is one thing, but demanding the women too. You've lost your mind." "I have not lost my mind. If anything, I am perfectly lucid." "Father, do not be hasty. This is not a whim. I speak with sincerity, explaining clearly. Your Majesty, your intention in selecting consorts for your daughters is to strengthen their support. If it's about support, how can one ever have too much? Bringing all 3 of them into my service is the first point. Secondly, Your Majesty, are you aware that each of them is already devoted to someone? Is that so?" I nodded with feigned hurt, softening my voice. "Lin Jingqing has a childhood sweetheart named Qi Yingying. She's now a renowned physician who treats common folk and dispenses medicine without charge. Even beggars have benefited from her kindness. Ning Changzi is devoted to his widowed sister-in-law, Wen Zhaoxue. Before her marriage, she was hailed as the epitome of a noble lady in the capital. Her virtue and learning were unparalleled. With such a woman assisting my daughter, Father Emperor ought to be pleased for me. My usual coaxing never fails, especially when I personally poured and presented the tea. Father Emperor sighed, gently tapping my nose. "You. Very well. As a princess, you may associate with anyone. But you mentioned 3 individuals, does that include Cui Jing?" "He." My hand instinctively reached for my neck, then froze mid-motion. Instead, I gently stroked the sleeve of my father's robe. "He is the sole son of Chancellor Cui. My daughter shares my father's view, it's merely a ploy to court the influence of the Cui clan." A sharp glint flashed in my father's eyes before softening once more. He smiled, his eyes narrowing slightly, signaling me to proceed. "Regardless of anything, you remain my only daughter." This was his way of backing me up. Bearing the imperial edict and verbal decree, I strode out of the imperial study with head held high. Have the prince's consorts wait within the palace. Without my permission, none are to leave. Dispatch messengers to their residences to summon Wen Zhaoxue and Qi Yingying to the princess's mansion. Have the mansion prepare for the wedding immediately. Perfection is not required, but speed is essential. And Yu Ling. A familiar figure appeared before me. I instinctively called out her name, then fell silent upon seeing her. Princess? Yu Ling looked up in confusion, having received no orders. I squeezed my eyes shut tightly. I must not be influenced by the Cui Jing of my past life. A man's misdeeds shouldn't drag women down. Yu Ling only approached him because she followed my orders. She did nothing wrong. It's fine. I reached out to her. Help me up. I'm a bit tired. Yes. Beneath the narrow, charcoal gray sleeves, a pair of pale hands steadied my layered brocade palace gown. Princess, are you truly going to marry so many people? Yu Ling whispered. Privately, our rules weren't so strict, she'd speak to me then. I glanced at her profile, quiet, pure, only her brow slightly furrowed. Yes. Not just them. You too. Yu Ling's eyes widened instantly. Princess. What? Unwilling? The young, beautiful female guard bowed her head again, cheeks flushing. Whatever the princess commands. I seemed to glimpse a reason for Cui Jing's heart flutter. I smiled and patted Yu Ling's hand. All right, just teasing you. Yu Ling murmured in response. The palace attendants obeyed the order, their footsteps hurried. It formed a stark contrast to the leisurely tranquility within the imperial garden. Lin Jingqing looked up, the trees in the garden lush and verdant. He had once practiced swordplay beneath this very tree. Back then, petals had fallen like rain, now only verdant green remained. People were the same. Li Jianyue hadn't come. In his memory, she should have appeared here, choosing one of them to be the prince consort. Whether she chose him or someone else. Yet, memories, repeated yet slightly different, churned and swirled in his mind. Lin Jingqing suddenly smiled. Since he had come back again, he couldn't keep repeating the same mistakes. Li Jianyue could only choose him. Why does Lord Lin laugh? Cui Jing asked, glancing sideways. His right hand clenched into a fist within his sleeve, trembling slightly. The back of his hand was faintly reddened, the lingering sting of blood still fresh. Even now, closing his eyes, he could still see Li Jianyue slitting her throat before him. Cui Jing steadied himself, turning to meet Lin Jingqing's gaze. He didn't know why these extra memories had surfaced, but one thing was clear. Lin Jingqing was unworthy of being the prince consort. Young Master Cui looks unwell. Is he feeling unwell? Perhaps he should retire to rest first. I'm sure the princess would understand and not mind. Lin Jingqing offered kindly. Cui Jing sneered coldly. She wouldn't mind because she simply didn't care. Want him to leave? Not a chance. No need for Lord Lin's concern. Jing promised the princess he would wait, and he would wait forever. Until she appeared, until she gave him a chance to explain. The tragic outcome of his previous life was never his intention. Lin Jingqing's expression darkened at these words. He vividly recalled the scene of Li Jianyue and Cui Jing's wedding. That so-called noble prince consort had hidden behind the princess, wearing the smug expression of a victor. The glance he shot Lin Jingqing was pure arrogance, a mix of showboating, triumph, and contempt. When Li Jianyue turned around, he feigned a look of helpless innocence. What a scheming, despicable man! Lin Jingqing gritted his teeth in fury. He couldn't help but take a step forward, only for Cui Jing to suddenly stagger backward. Enough. Ning Changsa couldn't help but speak up. He had observed the tension between these two, though he didn't quite understand it. With the princess absent, this quarrel held no meaning. He cared little for the dynamics between these two and Li Jianyue. He only wished to apologize to her and declare he would never give up. Were it not for the palace regulations binding him, he wouldn't be waiting here. He'd be racing to find Li Jianyue without pause. But given his status, he didn't want to cause trouble. So he reached out to help Cui Jing up. Unexpectedly, the other man twisted his body, dodged the hand, and then fell to the ground. Lin Jingqing reacted instantly, stepping back and shouting, "General Ning, this is the Imperial Palace. Don't be so reckless." Ning Changsa frowned in confusion. Lin Jingqing cleared his throat. Even if young Master Cui spoke harshly and offended you, you shouldn't have struck him. He truly couldn't match the cunning of scholars. especially those who'd become top imperial scholars and risen to court positions. A gentleman uses words, not fists. Ning Changsa pondered for a moment. Fortunately, he wasn't a gentleman. 3 imperial sons-in-law came to blows in the imperial garden. When the news reached the princess's residence, I was sipping tea. Yu Ling recounted every detail in my ear. I couldn't help but chuckle. So this time, they too possessed all the memories, just like me. Though I hadn't anticipated a quarrel erupting. Between the lines, it seemed to be about me. Even more amusing. They forced me to the brink once, now they regret it. What a cheap friendship. Still, it should prove quite useful. Convey my orders, nothing else matters, but their faces must remain unblemished. Otherwise, the wedding ceremony won't look right. Also tell them, whatever they say, I'll wait. Deliver this message separately. Yu Ling acknowledged the order, but just as she was about to leave, her expression abruptly changed. Princess! Clatter! The teacup fell to the floor and shattered. I curled up in agony, feeling a dull ache in my chest, neck, and abdomen all at once, as if a pair of hands were gripping and tearing at me. Unable to suppress it, I cried out in pain and collapsed, trembling. Upon waking, my first question was about Li Jue's whereabouts. Yu Ling's eyes held concern, yet she reported without hesitation. The crown prince is en route back to the capital. He should arrive in about 5 days. I nodded, pushing away her hand that reached to support me. I'm fine. What of the palace? All is as the princess commanded. No irregularities. Very well. Issue the order, the wedding shall take place tonight. Yu Ling's eyes widened, but those 2 women. I smiled without reply. Yu Ling. Understood. I'll handle it immediately. As for the marriage, I'll respect Li Jue's choice. True lovers, eh? Then let them serve me together, become husband and wife upon my bedchamber. On the wedding night, the bridal chamber glowed with candles. The advantage of being a princess is that no one dares question why I was alone at the ceremony. Likewise, no one raises eyebrows at my 3 bridal chambers. In the first chamber, Lin Jingqing wore a crimson wedding robe. The top scholar's handsome features were rendered even more vivid against the vibrant fabric. Had he not been bound hand and foot, he would have looked even more striking. I smoothed my robes and approached with deliberate grace, untying his bonds and removing the cloth ball from his mouth. Lin Jingqing gasped for air, a thin sheen of sweat glistening on his forehead, his cheeks flushed. Princess, Shoo. I pressed a finger to his lips, motioning for him to follow. The dragon phoenix candles burned quietly. On the table, a tray held 2 exquisite wine cups. I lifted one and offered it to him, asking, "Recognize this?" The poison inside is identical to the one he laced for me. Lin Jingqing's rising smile froze. His voice was bitter. You promised to wait for my explanation. Yes. Princess, none of this is what you think. Lin Jingqing cautiously took the cup from my hand and set it far away. I hate you, I admit it. I hate your coldness, your disregard for human life, and even more, your disregard for me. But I never intended to kill you over Ying's death. The poison in the sachet wasn't mine. Countless times I tried to convince myself to stop showing you mercy, but I couldn't bear it. I couldn't do it. I'd rather go to hell with you than harm you. No matter what kind of person you are, good or bad, it doesn't matter to me. I only want you. Please. Give me one more chance, will you? The once proud young man clutched the hem of my skirt, pleading humbly. What a display of genuine emotion. Lin Jingqing's eyes reflected the flickering candlelight, flicker after flicker. I sighed, finished? You've said all this to tell me that no matter what I am, you don't care. But Lin Jingqing, you never once asked if I was the one who did it. You don't trust me, yet you're blinded by your own devotion. Ha! I snorted softly, pushing him away as I stood. Don't go! Lin Jingqing instinctively lunged forward to stop me, but I kicked him away. The cup of poisoned wine returned to my hand. Together with the other cup, I pushed them both back toward him once more. However, for the sake of our past affection, I'll give you a chance. Poisoned wine or warm affection wine, choose one. Lin Jingqing snapped his head up. Joy flickered across his face before freezing at my words, his expression shifting between flushed and pale, looking rather comical. His voice cracked, tinged with bitter mockery. Not to drink with you, right? I laughed. How clever. Truly worthy of a top scholar. Then I raised my hand, pointing toward the bed veiled in crimson gauze. See who lies there. A figure was propping herself up, slender and delicate. Lin Jingqing's eyes widened instantly. Qi Yingying? Being the villain felt like drinking fiery liquor. My feet felt light, my heart burned. I parted the bed curtains, expecting to see a tear-streaked, heartbroken Qi Yingying. Instead, the woman's pale face was cold, her gaze fixed on Lin Jingqing. Have you made your choice? Qi Yingying's voice was clear and crisp, like a cold spring. Having been invited, she wore no wedding attire. She wore a simple bean-green gown, her jet-black hair secured with a silver hairpin and ribbon. Her appearance was plain yet elegant, exuding an otherworldly grace. Out of professional habit, I had administered a muscle-relaxing powder, but observing Qi Yingying's posture, her back straight and unyielding, I suddenly remembered she was a physician. Receiving no answer, Qi Yingying turned her gaze to me. Princess, since he cannot choose, may I select? Her tone held no panic or fear, maintaining perfect composure. I nodded, curious to see what she would do. I'd only known her through intelligence reports before. This was my first time meeting her in person. Without hesitation, Qi Yingying chose the poisoned wine. Lin Jingqing froze. Yingying, you needn't. Minister Lin, please don't misunderstand. Qi Yingying replied, I believe this wine is meant for you. Her words sent shockwaves through the room, silencing everyone. I leaned in, eager for the drama, asking why. Qi Yingying spoke calmly, though I don't know what happened, it sounds like I'm supposed to be dead. And he, the physician, pointed at Lin Jingqing, doesn't intend to avenge me. Instead, he plans to shield the murderer, you, princess. Noble clashes bring suffering to the common folk. These matters were never mine to bear, yet they insist on dragging me into them. Qi Yingying drew a small porcelain vial from her bosom and placed it beside the wine cup. I can counteract the poison in this cup. Let this single cup sever all ties of favor and obligation between Lord Lin and me. You and I were merely fellow townsfolk, chance acquaintances in the capital. I have my own principles and refuse to be anyone's lackey. Turning to me, she added, the princess invited me here, truly, she overestimates me. Her words rang out with conviction. Leaning my chin on my hand, I thought, I was wrong. I had underestimated this woman. I've changed my mind. Qi Yingying, this woman, I shall retain. Dr. Qi. It was Ayu's presumption and arrogance. I apologized to Dr. Qi. I rose, straightened my attire, cast aside my imperial status, and bowed deeply. The physician's stunned expression was illuminated by candlelight. Until I escorted her to another courtyard for lodging. Moonlight streamed through the open doorway. I knelt before Lin Jingqing, placing both the wine and porcelain bottle before him. Ayu? Lin Jingqing murmured, his gaze unfocused. I stroked his disheveled temples and whispered softly, Minister Lin, debts must be repaid to endure. Truthfully, that cup contained but a trace of poison. I never intended to take Lin Jingqing's life. He still serves a purpose. I exhaled deeply and pushed open the second door. Ouch! Careful. A dull sting hit my nose. I instinctively stumbled backward, only to be caught by a pair of hands that pulled me back by the waist. Ning Changsa stood planted in the doorway, as solid as a door god. Princess. I rubbed my nose irritably and peered past him. When Zhao Xue sat composed at the table. Hearing the commotion, she lifted her head, her smile flawless. I raised an eyebrow, stepping forward slowly. What's going on? No sooner had the words left my mouth than Ning Changsa swept his hem aside and knelt with precision. He tore open his robe, producing a long whip from somewhere, raising it high in offering. This servant knows he is guilty. Please, princess, punish me. I nearly choked on my own spit. What are you doing? Rise first. Ning Changsa stubbornly shook his head, princess, no need for words. Just strike me. It is this servant who has wronged the princess. I deserve this. No, I don't want to play this game. On such a joyous day, blood is unlucky. That's precisely why I prepared white silk. Asu, you're frightening the princess. When Zhao Xue couldn't bear to watch and spoke up to explain for him. Your Highness, please forgive him. His guilt drives him to beg punishment. If you refuse to strike, let him kneel. Such words, truly befitting an elder sister-in-law. When Zhao Xue wore a woman's chignon, radiating gentle grace. Noticing my gaze, she rose to curtsy. I recall she's with child. I'll dismiss this. I spoke abruptly. I've seen you before. 5 years ago, at the palace banquet, behind the rockery. The abrupt remark startled Wen Zhaoxue. She lowered her eyes and smiled faintly. It is this humble wife's honor to be remembered by your highness. At that time, when Zhao Xue was already betrothed to the eldest son of the Ning family, imposing and promising in his youth. Many at the banquet envied her, yet she wept secretly behind the rockery. The dignified, beautiful noblewoman crouched in a tight ball. Even the golden hairpin in her hair had lost its luster. I stumbled upon her while playing, simply curious. I poked her and asked, "Why are you crying?" When Zhao Xue only wept, her hand wringing the handkerchief tighter. I felt a pang of pity for her. When I cry, I can rub my eyes or cover my face, but she couldn't. Her cheeks were painted with rouge, her forehead adorned with floral hairpins. A single touch would smudge it all. So she kept her eyes wide open, letting big, heavy tears fall. When Zhao Xue said she didn't want to marry. Why? Is it because you don't like him? Then tell me who you do like, and I'll arrange a different match for you. Being a princess had its perks. Seeing injustice, I could draw my sword to aid. The sage's texts say one should find joy in helping others. But when Zhao Xue shook her head, pressing her handkerchief to her eye to smother the last tear. Thank you, princess. But I don't wish to marry, it has nothing to do with who he is. I simply don't want to marry. My tears weren't born of regret or sorrow, but from knowing my fate was sealed, crying out of sheer unwillingness. I curled my lip. She seemed so lacking in courage, so utterly dull. Time flew by in an instant. The noble lady who never married became the widow of the Ning household. Her words and actions were flawless, without a single slip. I hadn't intended to ask. But after what happened with Qi Yingying, I should approach this differently. So I spoke, do you still feel that unwillingness? When Zhao Xue's expression froze. After a long moment, she shook her head. Your Highness, this humble servant has long ceased to harbor such thoughts. I stared into her eyes, ceased to think about it, not ceased to feel it. Otherwise, how could you have secretly consorted with your younger brother-in-law, conceiving a child in secret? Truthfully, I didn't find it particularly shocking. If she truly felt like a dead soul as a widow, that would be the moment I'd look down on her. Provided, of course, she didn't drag me into it. No sooner had I finished than Ning Changsa beside me flung down his whip, hastily protesting, "No. Princess, we didn't." When Zhao Xue's expression darkened slightly, "Princess, why jest in such a manner?" Huh? I froze. Wasn't he buying sour dried fruit for you? Among the young women in your household, you're the only one he can be commanded by, aren't you? When Zhao Xue sighed, "Princess, my senior maid left the estate last year to marry. Her husband serves in the army. When she discovered her pregnancy days ago, I brought her back to care for her, to honor our bond as mistress and servant. So that's how it was." I gave an awkward smile, my apologies. What's going on? Why is all the intelligence so wrong? Wasn't I here tonight to exact revenge on that faithless man? Instead, I ended up apologizing to the very person they claimed to love. I picked up a wine cup from the table and handed one to Wen Zhaoxue. Fine wine, no poison. Offering wine as an apology, that was my discourtesy. When Zhao Xue shook her head gently, about to drink, but I stopped her. Meeting her puzzled gaze, I declared openly, "Sister Wen, tonight we drink together, not for marriage, but so that in the future, there will be no lingering regrets." Having spoken thus, it was only right to treat her as an honored guest. Attendants led the way out, while Ning Changsa remained kneeling with his back to the doorway. Princess. Ning Changsa's voice trembled slightly as he called my name. His robes were open, and the night wind had chilled him to the bone. After a moment's thought, I took back the white silk and the long whip. You should remember how I died. Falling from a great height, flesh and bone shattered together, I don't know how many bones were broken, or which ones. As a martial artist who witnessed my death, and as my former lover, General Ning Changsa, it's up to you. With that, I turned and left. Cui Jing donned the wedding robes once more. But this time, he stood alone in the chamber. The dragon and phoenix candles burned silently. He rose from his seat and moved to the doorway. A heavy gloom pressed against his chest beneath the crimson robes, unable to escape. Until a figure flickered at the door. Cui Jing's heart leapt with joy, and he swiftly pulled the door open. Princess. Young Master Cui. The one who appeared was not the person he longed for. Yu Ling stood silently beneath the eaves, clad in gray and black robes. The princess commanded me to deliver this to the young master. That ordinary, unremarkable dagger. The very thing Cui Jing knew best. He suddenly wanted to laugh, but blood rose in his throat. Did the princess have any message? Yu Ling glanced at him. She recalled Li Jinyue's instructions: if he asks anything else, tell him there is nothing. Yu Ling shook her head silently. Cui Jing clenched his fist abruptly. He stared at the woman before him. He remembered his past life, using her as an excuse to confront Li Jinyue. That anger and resentment still haunted him. Yu Ling had died from poison in her wounds. In her final moments, she lay in Li Jinyue's embrace. The carriage jolted back to the capital. Li Jinyue shouted urgently, paying no heed to Cui Jing's pallid face beside him. He too had been wounded. On his arm. Blood trickled into his palm, an itch. It was Cui Jing who had deliberately shielded Li Jinyue from the arrow. Yet now, her eyes held only another. Upon returning to the mansion, he flung his hands away, leaving only his back in a reckless departure. When Li Jinyue reappeared, Cui Jing deliberately tore open his wound's bandage, letting blood seep through his robes. Yet she didn't even glance his way. She didn't care about him. Li Jinyue didn't care about Cui Jing. Cui Jing consoled himself, Yuling was important, so it was understandable. Until Li Jinyue stopped caring about Yuling too. He could endure it no longer. He brandished a dagger to confront her, yet dared not question himself, using Yuling as his excuse. And now, starting over. Still this dagger. Cui Jing understood what Li Jinyue wanted, and knew exactly what she meant. So he knelt before the bright moon, bowing low. Jing, with a heart of sincerity, is willing to serve the princess faithfully, without regret. Yuling came to report. After hearing this, I nodded slightly, surprised yet satisfied. Very astute, Cui Jing. Not bad at all. Truly the son of a chancellor, he understands matters well. While Lin Jingqing and Ning Changsa were still tangled in their messy love affairs, he had already seen through my intentions. The next moment, Yu Ling reported their status. Lin Jingqing drank the poisoned wine, then the antidote, followed by the cup of affectionate wine. He forced himself to endure it all, only to completely wreck his body. He'll be bedridden for another fortnight. Looks like he's here to eat my food for free. As for Ning Changsa, he was about to sever his own tendons when the secret guards intervened just in time. When word reached me, I nearly choked on my anger. Warriors are such blockheads. Injuries can heal, but how do you reattach severed limbs? I still needed him to fight my battles. In the end, they had to break one of his legs and 2 ribs, still confining him to bed. I was utterly exasperated. This frustration peaked after Li Zhuo returned. News of my marriage spread across the land. A princess of noble birth, married to 3 princes consort and 2 consorts. Then came 3 days of lavish banquets, nightly revelry, utterly extravagant and reckless. The censors under Li Zhuo took turns reporting my misconduct. Yet the moment he returned to the capital, he rushed to my residence bearing gifts. Wedding presents. In the front hall of my study, a long-missed figure came into view. Come. Truthfully, my memories of Li Shua had grown hazy. After so many repetitions, only fragmented statements remained in my mind that we had fought each other. But the details were entirely gone. Looking at him, I only felt it had been a long time since we last met. Li Shua likely felt the same. His gaze was tangible, tracing my face inch by inch. I averted my gaze and looked at the painting in his hand. It was still that same portrait of a woman's back. Li Shua's fingers lightly traced the figure in the painting, his voice deep and solemn. This is my own handiwork, so naturally I came to deliver it personally. I wish you happiness on your wedding day. He said it with such reluctance. It sounded like he was forcing himself to swallow bitter medicine. How could someone who couldn't hide his emotions like this ever sit on the imperial throne? My mind buzzed. I looked at Li Shua, then back at the painting. The silhouette of the woman in crimson robes felt familiar. I seemed to have one just like it, also a gift from Li Shua. Wait. You. I had barely uttered a syllable when Li Shua recoiled as if burned. Yet it was only a sharp pang, not a retreat. In that moment, I finally understood. You like me. Not a question, not a test. Li Shua met my gaze, his lips pressed tightly together. Childhood memories flashed back. I was about 10, Li Shua 14. We argued over a kite. I lost, sulking in the palace chambers, refusing to see him or speak to him. Li Shua was stubborn too, but by the next day he couldn't hold out. He brought me many new kites to coax me. I took advantage of his kindness, refusing every single one. He remained remarkably patient. Don't be angry. If you don't like these, never mind. What do you want? I'll find it for you, okay? Seeing him speak so softly and gently felt good, yet I felt inexplicably angry. Recalling overheard conversations between father and his ministers, I blurted out, I want to be emperor, as powerful as father. Then I'll banish you far away, never to see me or make me angry again. Li Shua's face darkened instantly. No. Don't even think about it. Later, all those kites were torn to shreds and burned. Li Shua began mingling with ministers and attending court sessions. We drifted apart, growing so distant we stood at odds. I'd thought he was an ambitious rival. But this was the truth. No wonder Li Shua always failed. No wonder he'd die if I died. No wonder fate had to turn back. So. You liked me. Li Shua finally closed his eyes, unable to bear looking at me. That sigh held such disappointment. I cried. Cool fingers brushed beneath my eyes. Li Shua confessed, I'm sorry, I pushed him away, like when we were children and had a fight. Then I embraced him again, like when we made up as children. You know why I'm married, and you know what I want. Li Shua obediently held me back, murmuring his agreement. I didn't know how much he understood about destiny. But it didn't matter, because in this moment, I had only one thought. Brother, I beg you, stop me. Because you love me. Because I won't hold back. Later records tell of Empress Dowager Li Jinma and Crown Prince Li Shua each commanding their own factions, vying for the throne. Li Jinma gained the emperor's favor, forcing Li Shua to rebel. Yet lacking legitimacy and support, his uprising ended in crushing defeat. He was beheaded in battle. The Empress Dowager ascended the throne smoothly, unifying the realm. I must admit, having multiple wives really does have its advantages. Qi Yingying helped me win the people's hearts. After her divorce, when Zhao Xue became a female official and founded a girls' academy, Ning Chanzi led troops to defend the nation, Cui Jing restrained the aristocratic clans, and Lin Jingqing guided the scholars of the realm, wielding the pen. After ascending the throne, when rewards were distributed for meritorious service, one after another petitioned to enter the imperial harem. Me, my minister, you jest again. They chuckled along, though their smiles were strained. Lin Jingqing smiled bitterly. I thought your majesty would have me executed. I exclaimed in surprise, how could that be? I value your abilities and your service to the people, I cannot kill you. Then what about your majesty yourself? His probing tone mirrored the other two's. I replied with the same words. There's no need. Truthfully, I curled my lips inward, puzzled by their urgency. Once they resign their posts, death is inevitable whether they want it or not. But such thoughts must never show. I reached out to offer a gentle pat. My minister has labored hard. Take a break for 2 days. Recover well and return to serve me. After all, this vast and splendid land must not be let down. The end.